And welcome back once again to Ask Coach Trista alongside Trista Francis. I'm Dave Erickson. We are busy triathletes, but a lot of us are also full-time employees. We are husbands and wives, and we've got a real life outside of the swim, bike, run arena. So Trista, how do you balance all of that and still be a successful human being?
Yeah, it's definitely challenging to do that, but I think the thing to remember is that you just have to remember that you are looking for balance, and what does that balance look like? I think the first thing you kind of need to do is you need to look at your priorities and really list out what are your priorities. What's top of the list? Is it triathlon or is it your family? Is it your spouse? What is it? And then look at the things that you enjoy and the things that you need to really feel balanced as an individual. I know definitely through my athletic career, those focuses have changed. And I remember early in my early years of racing, I remember having really lofty goals as a triathlete. And then I remember getting in my off season and getting back into the kitchen and being domestic and cooking and baking. And I missed it. Like I missed it a lot. And I remember thinking at that point, I'm like, I need to change this. Like I shouldn't go 10 months without doing this. And so I think there's lots of ways we can incorporate training and being able to still do those other things that we like to do. I think the biggest thing which is new for us is I think, there's a lot of activities and people that maybe are wasting our time. And we need to address those. How many open up their phone when their alarm goes off and they lay in bed for 20 minutes, scanning social media? That's a huge time waster where you could literally be halfway through a swim workout at that point. So I think that's really important to consider as well. Depending on the age of if you're a father or a mother and you have a family, depending on the age, or the activity level of your family, I build into my training around being able to ride with my husband and being able to run with my girls. And I will adapt my training a little bit to be able to do that and spend that time. I think it's important as far as family life is concerned, is that, the family doesn't necessarily feel like your training is a priority over them. And I think those things really help avoid that. If you're a single working professional and you're trying to do it, I think lunchtime is a great time to try to squeeze in a workout. As a multi-sport athlete, generally you're doing, 2 workouts a day. We all know that you have to get up early in the morning. As a mother of young kids, I did all my training before 7 a.m. I didn't want to take my kids to, the daycare. And so I did all my training before 7 a.m. But if you're that, working professional, I think those are really key times, is early morning or during lunch. I know one time I was coaching an athlete through Ironman, and he was really starting to feel a little bit of pull from his wife and family, because both of his Saturday and Sundays were completely, eaten up by training. Long bike on Saturday, long swim and run on Sunday, and that sort of thing. And we had a conversation, and I said, okay, let's do this. I said, do you have one lunch during the week that we can manage a long run? And he thought about it and he thought about it. And he said, Thursdays. I said, great, you've got Sundays off. And he was like, what? And all of a sudden the wife's happy, the kids are happy. We didn't really have to change anything at all. I mean, we changed the time, but we didn't have to cut back his hours or his volume. And that changed so much in how that impacted the family.
Talk about some time management skills or ideas. And I know you did, working out in the morning, but I bring this up because in college I had a time management class, and it really taught me how to block out every 15 minutes of my day. And so
Yeah.
I recognized that at the end of the day, there were some open spots there that either I wasted or I did
Mhm.
nothing, or I was productive.
I think the biggest thing with this is drive time. So, I can spend an hour a day driving to the gym and home from the gym to do a spin class or to do weights. And I can spend another, 15 minutes to get to a trailhead to run, another 15 minutes to get back. That adds a lot of time, and so what I try to do is I try to tack training onto errands, dropping kids off at school, that sort of thing. And sometimes, as much as I would love to, go out to Waterton Canyon and, 30 minutes away, if I just run out my front door, and get it done. And so it's kind of what's the price that I want to pay? What am I willing to do? And so I think just really managing that. And I think sometimes too, I'll notice that athletes that I work with, they'll come home after a day and it will take them 45 minutes to an hour to get into that last training session, especially if maybe they've had 3 training sessions. And, there's part of me that's like, you know what? Why don't you just stop at the gym on the way home from work? And, then by the time they do their 45-minute run, they're actually walking through the door when they would actually be just leaving to go start their run. So I think it's really just being attentive to that dead time that can happen if we're not paying attention to it.
All right, how about that working professional who has to travel quite a bit? What are some suggestions on getting a workout in there?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I've had some very interesting working professionals. I've coached a pilot for United, and that's a very interesting schedule. And the thing with that is, I think the key is just being really aware of what's available to you. So generally when the working professional, they generally go to the same places is what I've learned. On occasion, they'll go to a new environment, but they are very predictable in kind of their travel or where they like to stay. And therefore we know what facilities are available to them, and so I think that that's important to know, what's available to you, because you're going to spend a lot less time looking for a gym if you know that, like the hotel you're staying at has a stationary bike and, a treadmill or some weights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a friend of mine who travels quite a bit, is on the road a lot. He'll look up for the closest YMCA or where might be the closest pool, because that's one of those factors that's most hard to find or get in. We can always go on a treadmill. We can go out the door of the hotel and run. The stationary bikes are a little challenging for fit and position, but there are ways.
Yeah, and the thing that I have found is that a lot of times working professionals sometimes feel like they have more time when they're away because they're not being tugged at with maybe things at home or to-dos at home, and so that's something to account for too, is, how do you have more time when you actually travel? So that's been interesting as well.
Great topic. I'm sure we can keep on talking with scenarios, but thank you very much. You got a question for Trista, use the hashtag AskCoachTrista on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, and check her out at itzmultisport.com as well. Thanks, Trista.
Thanks, Dave. Have a good day.